that point is well taken. We really ought to expand this discussion.
I think one of the reasons why people get bogged down in this fight in this way is because I think that Minister Farrakhan, because of his independence, is a threat. And one of the points that was made by the Anti-Defamation League when the Congressional Black Caucus responded to the minister having reached out to them by reaching out to him in this covenant last September, one of the things that the Anti-Defamation League put out in a secret document that's no longer so secret was that they were concerned about that coming together because it somehow stood in the way of their profiteering. It stood in the way of what they were doing with the CBC. They didn't respond to blacks providing leadership by reaching back out to the minister by figuring out how to make use of it and build something positive.
Let's go to the ADL
people in this country who do not support blacks and Jews coming together.
Let's discuss the ADL for a minute. Okay, now I invited a representative, and they chose not to come.
They're unrighteous.
Yeah, well, I found it interesting because the thing is they decide who they should appear with and shouldn't appear with. And apparently,
all of us.
Yeah, right. But I mean, it seems to me that if you're going to vilify somebody
and demonize,
then you should, in fact, do that in public.
Absolutely.
Instead of just by position paper.
Monroe, first of all, every time the issue of whether or not Louis Farrakhan or the Nation of Islam is anti-Semitic comes up, there are always these efforts to say, oh, let's not discuss the anti-Semitism coming from the Nation of Islam anymore. Let's discuss the Anti-Defamation League. The fact is that what the Anti-Defamation League did, the horrible thing they did, was merely publish a transcript of Khalid Muhammad's King College speech. That's what started all of this. They published it essentially as it was, without any kind of editorial comment. In fact, the headline of the ad said, "You decide." And in all of the discussions,
and that was powerful stuff.
That was indeed. And in all of the discussions in all of the discussions that we've had about this, nowhere have I run across anyone who says, oh, that stuff's not anti-Semitic. There's nothing anti-Semitic about what Khalid Muhammad said. There's nothing anti-Semitic about what Louis Farrakhan says. There's nothing anti-Semitic about what's in the final call. Because you can't say that. It is anti-Semitic.
Well, I'm saying that it's not anti-Semitic. No.
More
I want to respond to the Anti-Defamation League. So you should
has said.
Let me just say something. First of all, the Anti-Defamation League didn't simply publish an article or an advertisement. They're an illegal spy ring that have collected money from the Jewish community and the American people and spied on people who were pro-Palestinian, African leaders in this country. They have documents on the New Alliance Party, which I chair. In my FBI dossier, the Freedom of Information Act, you know who has documents in it? The Anti-Defamation League. They have spied on the Nation of Islam. One of the things that if people were really concerned, and this is one of the reasons why I was upset with Reverend Jackson's response to what happened with Minister Khalid, if people are concerned about advancing the relationship between blacks and Jews, you don't take it out and have a fist fight in the middle of the street. They could have picked up the phone and said, look, Minister Farrakhan, now that you've reached out, we want to respond to that. And it could have been done in a way that could have further advanced the positive relationships between the two groups. The Anti-Defamation League wasn't interested in that. They wanted to make money off of it, which is why they ran the ad, because they thrive off black Jewish tension.
Okay, let's pick this up. We've got to go to break.
For you to put on me that I hate Jews, period, is your sickness, not mine.
They run the commercials.
I want to thank our guests for joining us, and I want to thank you for watching. We have time for a question or two more. Mr. Levine, you had a point you wanted to make?
Yeah, just this point about the Anti-Defamation League. Dr. Fulani is describing an organization that simply doesn't exist. The Anti-Defamation League is one of the most prominent and effective civil rights organizations in the United States, and I just don't think there's any question about that whatsoever. If there's a consensus in this country about what the Anti-Defamation League stands for, it is extremely positive. But it's more important that we take note of what Capers Fournier mentioned before, and that is there are Black-Jewish dialogues going
Absolutely.
on. There is cooperation between blacks and Jews, in spite of and regardless of the kinds of things that we hear from Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam. And that's what's perhaps more important than the kinds of things that the Nation of Islam
Last year,
says.
the Anti-Defamation League lost 40% of its Jewish membership because of its wrongdoings.
That's simply not true.
I
That's simply
agree
not
that
true,
there are
Dr.
broader implications, and I want to say to the listening audience, both Jewish and black, ordinary people, how hypocritical these Jewish and black establishment leaders are who don't want us to come together. I work very closely with blacks and Jews. We've been building for 15